Welcome to Road Warrior.
Oh,
In the early 2010s, Bethesda decided to do a couple of publishing of trying to do a couple of new IPs. However, well, this was part of them. This is technically a licensed game because it's based on a series of autobiographical novel by U.S. Navy SEAL Richard Marcinko. I'm not sure how to say it. How to react to this.
to their credit, now
A
the
veteran
idea
of the Vietnam War who is described as one of the most badass American soldiers ever lived, and he wrote this series of novels, and this supposedly adapts them by having Mickey Rourke voicing the main protagonist, complete with all the swearing. Here's the thing, though. This game apparently was in development hell because it was set for a 2007 release, done by Rebellion Entertainment. The Rebellion Development. My bad. The guys who made stuff like the Sniper Elite series. However, it was stuck in development hell for a long time until it was managed to release at the end of 2009, where it was panned and apparently is being considered one of the worst video games of all time for some reason.
So there you have it, folks. A game that by all rights should have been awesome, had the golden ticket to be awesome.
Anyway,
but
there you go.
failed.
All the mission encodes, all the missions have a code name tied
you guys
to
tell me you get
military,
to 143.
like S.N.A.F.U. Almost there, Dweebs. Basically, right now, hold on. 2, 1, go. Basically, right now, we have our main protagonist, our main bold Navy SEAL Richard, going with a team in North Korea in order to detect, because he's set in the middle of the Cold War, and he's supposedly to try to prevent the North Korean to get their hands on nuclear missiles or something.
S.C.W.R.M.
Here we go.
Who gives a fuck?
Oh goody, have I mentioned our protagonist likes to swear a lot? Which, to be fair, Mickey Rourke is pretty good at. That said, though, it doesn't do wonders for the script.
Now here's the thing, this game is not that ugly looking. For reference audience, we're coming off of the tail of Terminator Salvation, and since I also played these back to back, this one looks extremely better in comparison. I'm saying this mostly because, again, this is considered supposedly one of the worst video games of all time. And while it's not a good game, I would say that it's not that deep. Why did you have to do that?
Because he heard you complimenting the game and had, well, we can't have that now, can we?
Anyway, our good old pal Richard here needs to catapult along with two of his trusty comrades that have saved his ass multiple times in war, and I'm sure will be a great moral support for the entire campaign.
Place your bets, folks!
When we get into the main bit of the game, can I talk a bit more about the development?
Give me a second, well, because actually, but yeah, it's still part of the cutscene, so yeah, you will be able to.
Yeah, I'll wait till this cutscene ends, then I'll get into it. Because it's a bit more interesting than what you let on a bit earlier, Tio.
This was done also with the Alien vs Predator engine that Rebellion was using ever since 1999, by the way. Whatever you said.
Check the bodies. That asshole's still twitching.
Words of wisdom.
Charming.
Truly.
Uh-oh. Run! Or maybe not. And there you go, the two comrades of Richard are already dead.
Oh.
Basically, we're stuck with him for the entire game. Just with him.
I love this dialogue here.
Commander, this is Peyton. What's your status?
It's a total goat fuck. Goddamn KPA were waiting for us.
What the hell?
I'm sure maybe in the context of the book that may have sounded cool, but here it just sounds goofy.
Alright.
Yeah, something tells me it was a bit exaggerated, but go on, Weebs, I'll tell more technicalities later.
Special delivery,
This
assholes.
game was originally developed by Bethesda and Zombie Studios.
Huh, fitting name.
They were behind games such as, well, until they went defunct in 2015, They did stuff in like most of the Spec Ops games up until 2000,
Covert Assault, I think.
based around 2001. Their later things included like a couple of Atlantis: The Lost Empire video games, the Saw video games,
Lights out,
and
motherfucker.
just some other bits here and there. Anyway, so what happened was development was pretty much silent throughout of quite a few years until 2009 when the game resurfaced. Apparently, Bethesda publicly stated that being unhappy with how Zombie were doing the game, they scrapped the whole project, commissioned Rebellion to develop the game from scratch, and I'm assuming they either didn't have enough time or they were just really,
Goddamn
really
shitholes
incompetent
crawling with KPA.
because the game got hugely scathing reviews, been remarked as one of the worst games of both 2009 and of all time, with criticisms being of poor controls, multiple glitches, the overuse of foul language, rushed production, uninteresting gameplay, short length, very limited multiplayer, and broken and exploitable combat techniques.
Yeah, that last statement is actually very true. But I would argue that there is, yeah, it's also extremely short, probably even shorter than Terminator Salvation when I recorded. So probably around 2 hours and a half if you know what you're doing in normal. But it has some cool things. Like for example, look at this. Every major source of light can actually be shot down and giving you a sort of cover up for you to stealth kill the enemies. It maybe look like nothing, but I actually really like this mechanic because it really looks like the developers actually bother to make it effective. Giving the areas illuminated, the ones instead in the dark, and having you take advantage of that.
Chew on this, fuckhead.
but. But otherwise, yeah, this game is relatively short. The story is very simplistic and kind of it's basically your cheap, average Steven Seagal recent movies, where he's this badass Rambo-style hero where he frees, he saves the world in this case by destroying some nuclear missiles during the Cold War. So it's nothing like that spectacular. But I would argue that it's not even that fun to play. It's there. It's not annoying or aggravating. It's just not something that you would want to pick up at all costs, if you ask me.
Interesting thing about Rebellion, not only are they a game developer and publisher, they're also a comic book publisher here in the UK. They own the 2000 AD label that makes Judge Dredd, for example. Plus, they've apparently recently set up a production company where they're planning on making a Judge Dredd TV show.
Huh.
Interesting.
Apparently.
So should we ask them about doing, the sequel to the Dread movie?
At this point, it's been so long, and that film didn't even really make that much money anyways.
Yeah.
Probably not. Besides, I think Carl Urban has said he'd be open to being in the show, but we're not sure if it's going to be a sequel to the movie or if it's just what's it called when it's a reboot yet they keep the actors.
Just call it a new installment.
Yeah, still just with some casting gag, I guess. It's a bit of a rare case, but with.
So, okay, folks, let's start off with one of the big problems of this game, the pacing. Like, we're immediately thrown into this setting with little to no idea of who we are, who his friends were before they were killed anyway, and you just have to deal with it. It's not even done cleverly.
Admittedly, this first section where you need to be stealthy about is nice enough, I guess.
The problem is that we have little to no idea who's who or what's what, which isn't
Well,
really
you're
the
in
best thing to
America,
do.
in North Korean territory. The North Koreans are the bad guys. Kill them.
Yeah, but maybe tell us about this guy a bit? Again, it's really bad pacing, especially considering the length of this game.
Is this one of those games that assumes you know who Richard Marcino is?
I don't know.
Marcinko, sorry.
Well, there was that narration at the beginning, so all I needed to know is that this guy supposedly is a war badass. I'm not sure if I need to know that if he has a wife or kids or something.
Oh, no. I don't mean anything like that. It's just like, well, the narration we're given doesn't feel like it's enough. Maybe it's just me,
Also, yeah, we talk a bit. The cover system is awkward at best. Your aim is severely, gammed down when you're doing cover, so you need to dislodge yourself from the cover in order to aim properly. But that means you become available again to be shot by the enemy. Therefore, it makes for a complete clusterfuck. Also, I'm using the pistol at the beginning because, in true tradition to a lot of FPSs or shooter games in general, like Metal Slug, your starting pistol may not be super powerful, but it has infinite ammo, so you can exploit the shit out of it. And the headshots work pretty well in this game, so I suggest you to take advantage of those.
Also, from what we've been seeing just now, or a bit earlier as well, the animations that play when you do like a stealth kill on an enemy are really over the top.
A bit clunky, if you ask me. You can do those even if you rush towards an enemy and press the X button. In this case, it counts. You don't have oh shit! You don't have a melee attack, but if you manage to get close enough to an enemy, you can insta kill him by pressing the X button.
From what I've seen in other LPs of this game, you don't even have to sneak up on them. You can just run as loud as possible up behind them. And
but that's the thing, Dweebs. The stealth kill counts exactly the same as the melee attack in that case. The only time where there's a different animation is if you manage to shoot the legs of the enemy and then the enemy manages to be in a agonizing state for a couple of seconds on the ground. You get close to him and you can press the X button for a different type of takedown. But again, it's just one button and it's not in a cutscene, and you're also invulnerable in that state. It's just basically macho eye candy, and that's it.
Wasn't this supposed to be a covert mission?
Yeah.
It's a lot of noise.
In case you're wondering, the composer for this game is Mark Rutherford. Let me check what else he did. Oh, he seems to be a veteran for Rebellion because he was also scoring for the Alien vs Predator game that they did, and also the Sniper Elite games.
Yeah, the Sniper Elite things are really the only regular thing game-wise Rebellion make.
They're actually really fun. I talked a bit about those during this year's E3. Basically, right now, your mission objective is to find a contact that you have in North Korea that will give you the direction where the nuclear missiles may be. Your infrared radar, vision that you can toggle with the directional pad can be useful, but at the same time it can be very clunky if you happen to be in a zone with too much sources of light. Encouraging also to take them down. There we go. Also, surprising enough, crouching is very effective because the enemies will have a harder time to shoot you for some reason.
Sir, what is he doing? He's crouching. We weren't trained for a crouching opponent.
Do the spy crab move.
do the marks, you know. Dun, 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 fuck.
Got you like a fish.
Pleasant, aren't you?
Oh, Drover, if you think that was weird, wait till you hear the ending credits music for this game.
It's a good thing that there are no subtitles because I'm not sure they will be necessary.
Honestly, too, I wouldn't say it's a good thing that there are no subtitles because it doesn't help when we actually do need to hear what this guy is saying. Unless you're telling me that there's never really a point where we do need to hear what this guy is saying. Like,
what's there to say? Over most of the time he just goes fuck shit bastard commie motherfucker. Insert whatever here.
Oh, hence why I said if he has something important to say. Unless you're telling me that that's what this entire game is just gonna be, him swearing wantonly. And look, I get it. Sometimes swearing can sound cool, but it can also just sound childish and lazy sometimes. Guess which one this one sounds like?
Neither. It's just really when it's not when I think both the time it's just flat out hilarious. This game's trying so hard, so desperately to be
I got
cool and
bullets for those
badass,
motherfuckers.
and yet it feels like it was written by some edgy, angsty 13-year-old.
Fun fact,
Hence the childish and laziest one. I mean, just because it's childish and lazy doesn't mean it can't be hilarious, of course. It's just...
Fun fact, this is actually multi-5, localized complete with the voice acting. The voice actor that they chose for Richard is the same that 2 years later they would use for Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh.
So
Damn,
I kind
that
of
poor
started to sense a
Italian
pattern.
That poor
This guy
Italian
needs a
just
better
can't
agent.
catch a break.
Well, that's the thing. He's usually doing great things. He has been Batman in almost all the animated Batman media, or
Nice.
the Arkham games, for example. Also, he was Meta Knight in the Kirby anime because why not?
Okay, so it sounds like he's had a pretty good career.
That's the thing. He's basically it's one of those voice actors that is used for a lot of things. So for as much as good things in his resume are, there are
must be
also a
some
lot
bad.
of yeah, exactly. Some that are just there for a paycheck.
Perfectly
But
balanced.
I can say that for this case in Duke Nukem Forever, he legitimately tried to sell the role. So where is that?
Well, it's Duke Nukem. My condolences to him. It was a lost effort, but he tried.
Oh dear.
Someone
I found
had
out.
to.
Yes, Waves.
The particular division of Rebellion that made this game were known as Rebellion Derby, aka the former core design, were most famous for the early Tomb Raider games up through the first to Angel of Darkness.
And I'm guessing. Oh, what a fall from grace.
Yeah.
Well, as if, well, I mean, after Angel of Darkness, they barely had any video game work. I think at most they had like some PSP puzzle game.
Was
Really?
Angel of
They got
Darkness
bought
really
back.
that bad? That song
I
to the
don't-
entire development team leaves.
Then Eidos sold them to Rebellion, and there we go. Anyway,
Leaves
what was the question to you?
Was Angel of Darkness that bad that he sunk
Yes.
the development team that
It
much?
sunk. Yeah, it sunk the development team, and it sunk the series for 3 years.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Jesus.
Like,
Was
literally,
it-
no-
what
like,
Mickey
literally,
Rourke said.
literally
That-
between 2003 and 2006, there was nothing Tomb Raider whatsoever released. I mean, hell, even Sonic managed to at least get like secret rings and one of the Riders games and that in
That's the
between
thing,
6
for a
and
long
Unleashed.
For a long time, I thought that Underworld was the lowest point of the franchise. That's why they decided to reboot it after that.
Nah, at worst, Underworld's just considered
Wasn't Angel of Darkness of like the second edition of Tomb Raider?
Now, Angel of Darkness was the first game on the
Nah,
PS2 for Tomb Raider.
Oh, so it was still in the first
There we go.
continuity.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Admiral, you read me?
the last one.
5 by 5. Tell me you got there in time.
Matter of perspective. I recovered the intel.
That joke
Tommy's a
doesn't
building
really
missiles
work,
ready
you
for
know.
The factory's by the docks.
Good. Maintain your objective. Find out what they've got, and if necessary, destroy it.
Shit.
Marcinko, you copy that?
It's a good thing there's a rope convenient pro player.
Come on, damn it! What the hell is going on?
Payback.
Yeah! I don't care.
Again, that joke doesn't work. I mean, you failed to establish a nice sense of context to it, and
Like
I'm
you
just
said.
lost.
That's it.
I
I was having such fun.
like I said, it really feels like one of those generic Steven Seagal recent movies. If you ever have seen any of them, you know exactly where this is going.
So you might as well just call this Seagal's Reckoning or something.
Sorry, Dave, but that's the thing, Waves. Remember, Steven Seagal was that henchman in a way our protagonist had to strangle in co-op. Anyway, see you for the next part.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.